everybody, and welcome to episode 23 of Just One More Podcast. Just churning through these things now. I am Jeff from Just One More Level, and as always, we have John from MyBrainOnGames.com. How you doing, John?
I'm good. I did some cable management earlier today, and it came out looking quite slick. Love it.
It's always nice to clean up that clutter of stuff, especially if you have a lot of game systems that just happen to be connected to a TV.
Well, and that's not the case anymore. Main TV, living room TV, got a new TV a couple weeks ago. We also got a new entertainment center. I wall mounted the TV, and so currently I just have the Xbox and the Switch hooked up. Probably hook up at least one more console in the future to it, but also have a bunch of those little SNES Mini, Genesis Mini, TurboGrafx Mini consoles ready to be plugged in. But you have not seen this setup. I need to send you a picture of it because don't know when we'll hang out next because it's sick.
So did you go the route of like running cords through your wall, or?
No. I just bought a set of cable hiders.
Okay.
Just modular cable hiders cut to size. This one's even paintable, so went ahead and got the matching paint and painted it up.
Yeah, that's for the most part not entirely sure when. Probably post holidays, things should start to kind of calm down enough to actually get to hang out in person, because it's been a little while. Let's see, we wrapped up Halo, and pretty much on the docket is still Gears of War 1 to go back through and replay.
Yeah, because that was whenever I was like, hey, have you heard of Vampire Survivors? Check this out.
Yeah. And then time was lost. Such a good game. And for anybody out there who is listening, the newest DLC dropped on it, and it's, $2? Or if you have Game Pass, it's like $1.70, $1.80 or something for the Moonspell DLC.
Yes. Yeah, whenever that came out, I went ahead and just bought the game outright too, because it's only $5 normally, $4 if you have Game Pass. It's like, okay, I've played this game enough, and I'm going to play it a ton more. It's just a couple of bucks. I'm going to throw my support to them.
Yeah, and I've heard some people point out, it's like, oh, well, I already pay for Game Pass, and Game Pass pays them to be on the service. It's like, yeah, but like
this, that is true, and then this is just another way to show support, to actually directly support them.
Yeah, and it for being like, I don't know how many people actually worked on the game, but it is such a good game for just an independent developer.
I want to say, the core game is made just by one person, and then some of the ancillary stuff, there may be more people involved, and of course, like the publishing side of things, there's a team involved, outsourced team, but I think the core game is basically just a guy.
Yeah, and like I know with I can probably look it up on the Series X to see just how much time I've put into it, but I feel like I've put in a lot of time in Vampire Survivors over the past couple of weeks, and it's just kind of therapeutic whenever you finally have like a combination of weapons that just works so well that you're just obliterating enemies towards the end. Like one of my favorite weapons is when Pichone and Ebony Wings, when they fuse together and make Vandalier, I think is the like fused name, and then you just have like these kind of like pastel laser things just going all over the screen and just obliterating enemies. It's just a very oddly relaxing game. I think on the last episode I had mentioned that I kind of get like a Geometry Wars vibe to it, but like the more that I play it, it's more just like zoning out, just kind of relaxing. No real, I mean, you have to be engaged for a while, but it's not so unwieldy that you're having to combo a bunch of buttons and stuff together to progress forward. So it is just kind of a relaxing, therapeutic, just easy to pick up game that I guess the majority of the strategy is, well, what item am I going to get next? Like, what am I going to power up next?
What upgrades am I going to select? What path am I going down?
Yeah.
And according to the Xbox app, you have played for 23 hours on the dot.
Oh, okay. Well, almost.
I'm only at like 6 hours and 40 minutes.
Damn. Okay.
And that's just because I've been focusing on Star Ocean.
Yeah.
I'd love to. I can't wait to play more of it. Just I'm focusing on Star Ocean. At least I'm telling myself that I got to focus on Star Ocean.
Well, and I mean, at least that's one of us that's focusing on Star Ocean. I did play a little bit of Star Ocean, and I remember you talking about because I was like, oh, I need to wrap things up before I move forward because I may not get to come back to the planet and
yeah, we left off last podcast where Ray's basically saying, well, if there's any, I guess I need to clean up anything I want to do here on Aster 4 because he's about to go back up to space. I think about to go up on Marielle's ship, the Akizuki.
Yeah, and I remember you saying, I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah, don't worry about it.
And sure enough, pretty much kind of where it picks up. Like there's that scene with Prince Gerard talking to the king, just kind of discussing the efforts post-war, and how the two nations can coincide together, and then just kind of explaining the fact that his father Boulder left and gave him the reins of the Vale Empire, and basically, hey son, keep the seat warm for me while I'm gone, and when I come back, blah blah blah. Which I think anybody who has played to this point can definitely tell that the prince really has no interests. Well, he has.
I mean, he's just not fleshed out at all.
Yeah, like he's
just like, okay, he's the prince. Fill in your own conclusions on like princely duties and stuff like that. And in the scenes he's been in, he seems like, hey, he's probably a nice guy.
Yeah, like he is very much the polar opposite of his father in regards to how his father has handled things. He didn't really want to do the war. He didn't want to do the wedding. He didn't really want to put Laeticia or the kingdom of Osiris into the position that they were ultimately put in. He didn't agree with his father in almost every aspect, especially with bringing on like Gaston and Volange and this whole thing with Scorpium. Like it's like if there was something that his father supported or wanted to do, he was not the same. He did not agree or want to support that.
Yeah, so in looking at my notes, I don't think we're on the Akizuki very long.
Nope.
I think one thing I liked was Ray getting up there and Marielle basically giving him command, basically saying, hey, I'm not a captain. I just stole this ship. You're an actual captain. Why don't you take charge? And it was nice seeing him take charge and actually like be a proper captain and actually see the other crew members of the Akizuki being like, oh yeah, he's good. We like him.
Yeah, like he was back in his setting. Instead of being a fish out of water on the planet, he was back in a spaceship that he was like, oh yeah, I know how to do this stuff.
Yeah, this is a Federation ship, different than the Vergoldian stuff I'm used to, but close enough.
One thing that I liked is Marielle, when she was kind of explaining the ship and the crew. She was just like, oh yeah, this person does this job, this one this job, this job, this job, this job, and then this guy, he does this job, this job, this job, this job, this job, and then we have this guy that has all of engineering to himself. And it's
basically there's like 4 people on the ship and they all do like 3 or 4 different jobs.
So yeah, like I was like, well, isn't it perfect that half of the party is now up on the ship, so Elena can help with
And she
this, and
just, yeah, just let Elena do everything. She's an
yeah,
android.
yeah, she doesn't need to sleep or eat. At least I don't think so. I don't. Have they?
No, I mean, I know she definitely doesn't need to sleep because there have been times when she's like, "Hey, why don't you get some rest? I'll
Okay,
take
yeah.
over." And yeah, she's an android, so she shouldn't need to eat.
And of course, Marielle also kind of, she's concerned that all of the various infractions that she has against her would prevent a proper investigation into the Varians. Um, and of course, they kind of they leave Lola on the surface planet, or of the surface of the
Well,
planet. Um, but
yeah, they leave her in the, well, yeah, yeah, because Gaston and Volange, they teleported away with Boldor.
yeah,
Lost, they couldn't find him on their scanner, so essentially they're gone.
yeah,
But yeah, we're not up in the ship very long before a Scorpion vessel comes in and eventually attacks them, and they have to abandon ship, and they actually go down to, oh, hey, what's this big structure outside of Vale? Oh, this is where the Virians came in on.
and of course I got to that point because I was like, well, I'm still going to clean up as much as I can just in case there's something that I miss out on. Like I was running around just cleaning up the Asoa matches and stuff, and uh, I think if let me find it in my notes. I believe there's only one fight left. Well, I don't know. There's probably more because I still can't fight the undefeated old master in Larset Village. But I have.
What's your rank?
I'm a level 8 master.
Okay, yeah, so there is at least 2 more ranks for you to go,
Okay.
and there's a lot more people to fight.
Yeah, there was a little bit later on in one of the spaceships that we end up getting back onto. Um, there's a couple of Isoa players that I fought up there. But one thing that before the ship gets attacked, Duma mentions that Scorpium, they're not offensive, they're not aggressive, they don't really attack unless there's a reason to attack. Which makes everybody feel like, oh, okay, well, since there's no real reason for Scorpium to just attack, we shouldn't have anything to worry about. But that's not the case. So yeah, the ship gets attacked, and Raymond, when they're on the surface again, just kind of a throwaway comment of, well, that didn't last long.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's like, okay, Star Ocean, this sci-fi futuristic game, all right.
Yeah.
Like 40 hours in, we're up in space again.
yeah,
Oh, and now we're back on the
on
underdeveloped planet. Okay.
yeah. Which the big ship that you had talked about or referenced is Tyrannus.
Mm-hmm.
And
And hey, what do you know? Gaston and Volange and Emperor Boldor,
Just
they're
happen
still
to
on
be
the
there.
planet. Yeah, they finally see on sensors, or they tell somehow. I don't know if it's low. I forget. They're like, oh, well, hey, they're still here.
Yeah. I've kind of got to the point as far as like my notes and stuff. Like I used to make all sorts of notes and then kind of realized that a lot of the stuff just kind of is surface level. Like things get mentioned and then they don't really go deeper. So yeah, I'm not sure exactly how they found out that they were still on the planet.
Yeah, and then it's kind of the same thing. My notes are a little bit sparse around this point, and I was just taking bullet point notes at this stage. But exploring the Tyrannus was pretty cool. It was a pretty big little dungeon to explore with a couple reasons to backtrack for treasure chests or whatnot.
Yeah.
And then I think teleporters inside, which made it a little challenging, trying to just keep up with, okay, have I been there yet?
Yeah, and one thing that always that kind of concerned me was like when I would scan, the scanners would say a small life form detected. I was like, oh, and
A
then
bunny.
yeah, and so I'm like trying to, like you can see the icon on the little mini map, and I'm trying to run around trying to figure out how to get to that room, and I'm like, well, the only place I haven't gone to is the next checkpoint, and I'm like, if I go too far, will I end up progressing the story, and then will I no longer be able to be on the planet, or like now that we've kind of reached that point, but again, that kind of gets addressed after this whole thing as well.
Yeah,
But
yeah. Like I said last episode, looking ahead, I found out where it's like, okay, no, even in the final dungeon, you can basically just backtrack anywhere you'd been previously.
yeah, and kind of another thing that referencing back to either last episode or the episode before last, I remember mentioning that, man, there's a lot of space on the map that we haven't got to yet.
Yes, yeah, that was mentioned last time, and I was like, I had already got to that point last episode. It's like, oh, it gets addressed.
Yeah, it's that's
So
where space.
You've seen it then.
Yeah, that's where space is.
It's like, okay, there's this whole continent of Vale and what's beyond, and boy, it sure seems like there's a lot more of Aster 4 we could explore. Nope,
yeah.
here's just an inlay of space exploration.
Yeah, so like, and I did also want to point out or reference, the animations are intriguing to look at. I remember sending you a screenshot of like this very weirdly distorted, like I'm not really sure how Ray found it comfortable to be in this position, but when he was talking to Laeticia, it's just like he's like hunched over but leaning
He's
backwards.
Like the fawns.
Yeah, like and I don't one thing that I have down here as far as like a note is, was there a relationship forming between Ray and Laeticia? Because it didn't really seem like there was something forming.
Like, yeah. I mean, it definitely seems like there's a romantic angle between those two, at least in Laeticia's eyes. It seems like there's a lot of time, especially whenever he's leaving, where she's like, oh, you have to leave. This will be the last we see each other. So it seems like you could kind of ship them as a romantic couple.
Yeah, and it just kind of not. I mean, it was just a little awkward how it was kind of being, addressed. But so yeah.
Anyways, exploring the terrain as we eventually do come across Volange, Gaston, and Baldur, and those two have fused with Scorpium. They integrated with Scorpium.
Which, if I remember correctly, and I might be remembering this wrong, but isn't Scorpium the process of taking a cybernetic being or entity or whatever and infusing parts of organic life into it and not the other way around? Like it I mean that's the goal, or because Scorpium is a cybernetic like network, a hive mind of sorts, but they're always looking for hosts to evolve, to continue growing. And so Gaston and Volange, they are organic hosts, organic beings. Well, yeah, it's just it seems like,
I mean, whenever it comes down to it, anyone can integrate with Scorpium.
Because when looking at Gaston and Volange, it seems like more than just integrating organic.
Yeah, I mean, they have physically changed. They're like Hulk-like monsters now.
They are huge, and I wasn't really having difficulties with the fight with them. The game just kind of was like, okay, you're supposed to not, win this. Because, like, I was watching the health bars, and I was doing a pretty good amount of damage to them. I think, I can't remember which one, but one of them I had taken probably 20 or 30% of their health. And then all of a sudden it just cuts to, like, this cutscene. I'm like, oh, okay, I guess we're not supposed to win this fight. So yeah, that was a little jarring, but Because again, like I said, I haven't really had any issues with any of the fights, so um, it just seemed kind of weird and a little jarring.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, you're not actually supposed to win this fight. So,
Yeah. Emperor declares he wants everybody on Aster 4 to integrate with Scorpium.
yeah,
And the Scorpium ship arrives. They beam aboard, those trio. And then just a little bit afterwards, Antonio arrives. And
yeah.
what, do they beam aboard then? Oh, no. The Laeticia sought permission to beam aboard with them and travel space to kind of finish the story, finish everything.
Finish the fight.
Finish the fight.
And of course, Ray's like, well, you need to make sure that everything is good and kosher with all of your.
We don't want
people.
it to look like I abducted you.
Yeah, we definitely don't want it to. We don't want people thinking that this space alien kidnapped you. So of course, Laeticia is just like, oh, okay, yeah, you're right. And but ultimately, they do go up to. I think it's called the Aldous.
Up to the Aldous.
Aldous.
The Aldous. Now, how far past this point are you?
Let's see.
Have you just been like exploring the Aldous, or have you progressed some of the story more?
I've progressed a little bit of the story. The last note that I have is pretty much meeting up with, or not meeting up with, but opening communications and talking with Captain Curtis.
Okay, so like you've just talked to him over communication, not like beamed aboard or anything.
Yeah, so just
okay.
His ship appeared. They had their long-winded conversation. So yeah, that's the last note that I have.
Okay.
So, but yeah, essentially, Antonio shows up, and my first impression is, what is up with the hair? It's like 5 or 6 different styles in one, and
I mean, it just looks like he has cornrows.
It doesn't.
White boy cornrows.
It doesn't look great.
Oh no, I mean, I'm not passing judgment. I'm not saying, oh, that looks hot.
Like,
I'm just saying he's got like white boy cornrows.
Yeah. So.
And maybe it wasn't so bad for me because I stumbled upon him in like the glossary at the very beginning of the game, looking through the characters. It showed a picture of him, so I was like, oh, well, there's what his brother looks like, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like that's weird that they showed a picture of him, but not some of these other characters. And then, of course, come to find out, oh, well, he eventually plays a significant part of the story.
And
you see a lot of them.
And very, very much like Marielle with the Akizuki, Antonio's just like, you know what? This is out of my hands. Ray, you're captain of the ship right now. Like, this is. So a lot of people seem to be fairly confident in giving Ray control of ships.
Well, at least in these two cases, it's understandable.
Yeah.
Marielle's case, she's not a captain. And then in Antonio's case, he's like, hey, this is your story. I'm just playing in it.
Yeah, like, this is, if something goes wrong, it's on you. Just don't get my ship destroyed. So essentially, let's see. Yeah. Yeah, I guess for the most part,
that's it.
Yeah.
Come on, man. You didn't play a ton of this game.
Well, I did. Like, with essentially with they spend the time trying to figure out where the ship is headed, and then, of course, there's another ship that's coming that's a Federation ship, which happens to have Captain Curtis on it, who's en route.
We'll talk about Captain Curtis next time, I guess, because that there's stuff that happens there, and then more story stuff. But I'm at the point where I can enter the final dungeon.
Oh, okay. So you're pretty close to the end.
Yeah, I could go beat the game, but I'm cleaning some stuff up. I'm going through and revisiting all the towns, picking up new side quests, trying to complete all those, and then I'm also going to the shops and actually listing all the other quest items I need to complete all the quests for the shops. Even I don't know if I will go all the way down that rabbit hole, because I feel like by the time I beat the game, whenever I probably get at least most of the side quests done, I think I'll probably pull the trigger on going through the end, and then there's a couple post-game dungeons, so I'll do those, and at that point I'll probably look at it and be like, do I really want to go through and try and get like the 90% of all crafting items? Do I really want to try and get a lot of this stuff, or am I just going to be ready to move on?
Yeah, that's. I was gonna ask you just as far as the crafting goes. Like, I was gonna see like how much of an interest you have in doing the crafting.
I'm interested in dabbling with it more. I have not actually put any skill points into improving the crafting skills for any characters. So all my crafting improvements have come just by doing it, and usually I just do it whenever I'm like, oh, I can't pick up blueberries because I'm maxed out. Let me go do a bunch of crafting with those. And so I've gained a number of levels just by crafting, crafted a good number of items, but I'm just about unlocked all the skill trees for everybody. The only things I have left are like those elemental resistances, which are like the most expensive things. I think each character has like 4 to 8 of those left to unlock, and once I get those, then I think I'm just going to start pouring all my skill points into improving crafting, so I can really start getting a handle on that, because like I said, I do want to dabble with that more, and maybe I'll get like 60% of the stuff crafted before kind of closing out the story, and I'll be like, I'll put the time in to do the rest of this, get that 90% item crafting completion.
Yeah. Have you gotten the achievement for opening like 90% of the treasure chests?
No. I think that one is open all treasure chests.
Oh, open all. Okay, well.
Yeah,
that's great.
There are a good number that are just, complete 90% of the bestiary, or complete 90% of item collection. Yeah. But then there are also a number that are just straight up, hey, get everything.
So, and I know as far as like the endings and stuff, one thing that I did look up, because I was curious to see what the easiest route would be on getting all of the endings for the characters, and apparently a lot of people point to maxing out compounding with Nina to make the
Aphrodite's tears.
Yeah, to boost the relationships with the characters.
Basically just make 10 of those, save your game, give them all to one character, get the ending, reload your save, rinse, repeat.
Yeah. And I think I've got Nina to like level 8 or level 9 in compounding.
Oh, damn.
Just to kind of get her to get her ready. I need to look up to see what materials are needed again, because I remember I looked at what the items were to make the tiers, but I can't remember them off the top of my head.
I've crafted a couple, but I couldn't tell you what I crafted them with. And looking at the achievement stats, I have found 85% of treasures. So I'm sure a number will be in the final dungeon, and then it's probably going to be like a Ys Memories of Celceta deal where it's like, okay, there's like 2 treasure chests somewhere in the game I've missed.
Yeah.
Let me just like pull up a checklist and start going through all those and finding them. And then just for reference, I have on the 90% of all items in item creation. That's a big achievement. That's a big trophy. It's worth 90 points on Xbox. I have only crafted 12%, so I've got a ways to go to hit that 12% towards 100% of 90%.
And this percent of this percent of this percent.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But ultimately, you're right there pretty much at the ending. I'm not quite sure how close I am.
You got to play more. There's so much stuff that happens from basically from the time we first go up into space. From that point on, it is just kind of a roller coaster, and there are some stops and starts, just like how we got up on the Akizuki and then like, oh, back to Aster 4.
Yeah.
But from this point on, we're basically in space and going to a number of different places, and it looks like, if you put in like 6 hours, 8 hours, you'd basically be caught up to where I am.
Okay. And so, as far as like Isoa goes, have you defeated the undefeated old man, or
Yes.
okay, but
Yeah.
was he a big challenge? Like, do you remember?
No.
Okay, because yeah,
No. There's been one challenging person I fought. Mentioned him a couple podcasts ago, and I think at this point I've just continued to beat those like level 7 masters, level 8 masters, and even some like the guy in the village grandmasters now. And getting some of the Isoa pieces as the rewards, they're just very powerful.
yeah,
So your deck just every time you win, basically your deck improves, and so then that next fight just gets easier and easier. So really, it's only been that one guy I mentioned a couple podcasts ago who's given me trouble.
yeah. That's I think there was like a level 7 or level 8 master, like had a bunch of like 250 to 300 point like pieces that gave me some difficulties. So essentially what I did was I just threw as the max amount of assassins into my deck, and along with my other like powerful pieces, and then had no issues. Because yeah, essentially they would put down like a 332 point piece, and then I would just throw an assassin next to it, and yeah, you don't have that anymore. And I think one of them, or I think the one that I was having some some difficulty with, had the revive ability. So I just made sure that I used gunners to keep the MP down. And then yeah, once I comboed the gunners with the assassins, I defeated that. I can't remember. I think I've got.
Yeah, gonna sound like a broken record, but I just wish they'd hope they'll put in some sort of multiplayer mode, because it'd be so much fun to play Isoa matches against you.
Yeah, and especially with all of the different pieces and stuff, like the hero pieces, the elite. Like there's some opponents that are just really aggressive with a bunch of like elite characters that they do a bunch of damage as soon as they are placed on the board, and then they get to attack again just because of just the end of the turn.
Normal attack phase.
Yeah, so like some of the pieces doing like 250 points, and then end of turn doing another 250 points. It's like, okay, I need to get you out of there.
Yeah. I mean, it has nowhere near the depth of a trading card game like Magic or Pokemon or anything, but it is the sort of thing where as you talked about, it's okay. I lost this match. Let me go in and fine tune my deck a little bit more. Yeah. Okay, now I won, and so I just would love to do that with a human versus human match, because it'd just be like, okay, well, I'm going to change. He beat me with that last time. Let me adjust my deck just a little bit and see if that's enough to get me over the hump and win.
And I feel like with all the different characters that they could pull from, like they could introduce a couple new classes, like they could add expansions and stuff. Because I mean, right now I think there's 7 or 8 classes. There's like hero, right, commander, assassin, all that kind of stuff. Like they could add a couple new classes that do different things when you play them on the board. Like they could add a class that when you play it on the board, the following turn or like 2 turns later, you can then move that piece one time, like something like that. I don't know exactly how that would benefit, unless there was like a secondary thing, like how wizards can increase the attack points of anything that's adjacent to it, or you could potentially kind of do a mobile berserker, where instead of it making itself weaker, it goes next to something and it lowers the attack of something. But anyway, so yeah, played Vampire Survivors, got some more time into that. Obviously didn't play enough of Star Ocean.
Not enough. Gotta play more.
But I think with Star Ocean, I am kind of getting that groove back, especially now that things have started kind of progressing a little bit more, especially with all the stuff that gets talked about with Captain Curtis. But outside of those 2 games, I did check out Soccer Story. Just a very lighthearted, very colorful, kind of a simplistic game.
Now, what turned you on into that in the first place?
I was just kind of
Because you're not a fan of soccer, or are you?
not really. I'm not really a fan of soccer, but I was just kind of going through the Game Pass catalog, and I don't know if it was like, oh well, I think there are like RPG mechanics in it, or maybe that's something else that I was looking at, but just the idea of creating your own team or running your own team, just a very simplistic sports game. Like I love NBA Jam because it's just a very simplistic basketball arcade game. So I don't know if maybe I was kind of getting those vibes, or I was hoping to get those kind of vibes out of Soccer Story. Plus, it has just a very unique or very interesting plot. Essentially, an apocalypse happened because there was a soccer game, and now soccer is completely banned except for this corporation that basically has the power to sanction soccer matches. And the only way to play soccer is to be approved by this organization because they're trying to prevent the next apocalypse from happening. So it's a very crazy story, and it's very colorful and vibrant, and also very simplistic. So I checked it out. I was like, yeah, this seems like an easy game to just kind of pop in and see, and I'm enjoying it. So that's I guess another part of it, I didn't know if it may have had something like there's like what Golf Story.
Yeah, Golf Story's awesome.
So I was kind of thinking,
and Golf Story sequel coming out soon. I don't know if it's coming out in December or if it's coming out sometime next year.
I heard good things about that. I was like, well, I'll check out Soccer Story and just see how it goes.
Yeah, every time I turn on the Xbox, I check to see, okay, is Tridracus on? Is Tridracus online? Is Jeff online? And then I see, okay, has he made any more progress in Star Ocean? No, he's playing Smite. What the hell is he doing?
Yeah.
And then, I'll check your achievements. And so I saw you got an achievement, and I was like, Soccer Story? What? So I went and looked it up, and I was like, what? How do you get turned on to this? What is this? The first thing I thought was, is this some sort of like Golf Story clone?
And that's, I'm not entirely sure. I never played Golf Story, but I heard a lot of really good things about it, and I was like, well...
yeah, you got to play Golf Story. It's good.
And Golf Story has, like, RPG mechanics in it, right? Like, it's...
Yes.
Okay. Well,
yeah, it is like a sports RPG, kind of like the Mario Golf. I don't know if the other handheld Mario Golf games were like this, but the Game Boy Advance one was, just a golfing RPG.
So, I was just like, I'll check it out. I'll see... because I did also check out Power Wash Simulator.
Okay, I did see you had some time there.
And
I didn't know if that was like you or Corey.
That's I was just I kind of went through a very brief. I was just like, I'm not quite in the mood for Star Ocean. I'm not in the mood for Smite. The PS5 is packed up, so I don't have easy access to my current Yakuza Like a Dragon save file, and I was just like, I wasn't quite feeling Vampire Survivors either, so I was just like, I want to try something new, just see what's out there. And so Soccer Story and Power Wash Simulator was there, and kind of like just the weird therapeuticness of Vampire Survivors. Power Wash Simulator is also fairly just relaxing and calming.
That's a game you just turn on and play and listen to a podcast, or just otherwise zone out to.
Yeah, just a really nice, just relaxing, like the most of what I did in Power Wash Simulator was just that very first van. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have to come back to this. Like this will be kind of a game that I can just start up and not have to really keep track or tally of anything. And this is one of the things that I you and I, we like to collect games. We like having physical ownership of our games, but there is no doubt the importance of Game Pass. Just being able to try games out, and in the case of like Vampire Survivors, like you and I both have played it, we've enjoyed it a whole lot. Because of Game Pass, there's that slight discount. So it's like, okay, well, yes, it's part of this service. I still want to buy this to support the developers and actually own this because, who knows? At any point, these games could leave Game Pass. And
I mean, it will come off Game Pass at some point.
So the good thing about Game Pass is just being able to try things out that I likely would never have actually paid for to try, like Tunic, for instance. I'm not a Zelda fan,
and that's not a Zelda game.
I mean, it's not like it's not a Zelda game, but there's a lot about it that's inspired.
There's a lot about it that seems that way. I mean, gameplay's inspired by it, but that's about it. That game's got layers like an onion.
Now, granted, I've only played like maybe 5 or so hours, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, like this should say it all. But whenever I'm thinking of like what are the best games I played this year, Elden Ring's number one with a bullet. Tunic's like very close. So
Whoa.
Tunic's got a lot going on for it that is just blows your mind once you get to a certain point in Tunic.
I still think one of my favorite things about Tunic is the discoverable manual. Just like as you play, you're finding pieces of that of the manual or the map and stuff.
That ties into all the discovery of Tunic and how it's not really what it seems.
So that's
But yeah, talking about Game Pass, I have. Again, just like I've not played a lot of Vampire Survivors because I'm focusing on Star Ocean. I've not played a ton of Pokemon because I'm focusing on Star Ocean. I have been downloading a lot of new games from Game Pass and just be like, okay, well, whenever I get time, I want to play Chained Echoes or whatever the game is, that RPG that just came out on there.
Yeah.
And then there's High on Life. It's like, okay, that'll only be 10 hours or so, and it looks like it's somewhat divisive because of the humor, but it looks like people like the game. It's like I want to check that out. There's a ton of games that have come to Game Pass within the last month or two where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and download that. Don't know when I'll play it, but at least I'll have it ready. Yeah, kind of an, and that was the one thing looking at Chained Echoes. Whenever I saw that came out, before it came to Game Pass, I saw it getting some positive buzz from like RPG fans on Twitter. And so, okay, well, I need to keep that on my radar. And then it like surprise came to Game Pass. I was like, okay, how long is that? It's like maybe that's going to be like a relatively short RPG. And then I saw, no, it's like a 30 to 40, maybe 50 hours. It's like, okay, well, I still want to check it out.
Another game that I want to check out, and I don't really know when I will check it out, but luckily it is a first-party Microsoft title, Pentiment.
Oh yeah, I downloaded that one too
from Obsidian, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
It's been getting great reviews, and so I went ahead and got that downloaded. Again,
and that one is like maybe sub 10 to 15 hours, so that'll be a little more palatable.
Kind of a what remains of Edith Finch, I believe, kind of in that time frame, I think. Not super long to beat it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Edith Finch is only like a couple hours, 5 tops.
Yeah, true.
But still, in comparison to stuff we normally play like Yakuza or Star Ocean or Pokemon, it's much shorter.
Because so many people are used to putting in 700 plus hours in one Pokemon game. So when you're
Now, I will say, I did actually get a good amount of time into the new Pokemon this weekend. I actually was able to put in, 4 or 5 hours.
All right, making some progress there.
Yeah, I got one more gym batch. I'm up to 3 now.
Any new standout like new generation Pokemon that you came across in that time frame?
Just of evolutions of some in my party. Like I was talking about Wiglet last week, how
Yeah.
I initially didn't like Wiglet from the pre-release stuff, but then actually using it in my party, it really grew on me just because it's fast. I like speedy Pokemon. And then its evolution, it evolves into a Doug Trio looking like Pokemon. Wug Trio.
Wug Trio.
Wug Trio. And whereas, Diglett, of course, is like just brown. It's a ground type Pokemon, burrows in the ground, so that makes sense. Wug Trio is more like, it's a water Pokemon. So, it's something that you'd find on like underwater or find on the beach. Wiglet is white, but then Wug Trio is like bright as red. And then it looks like it has a really killer shiny form. Its shiny form is completely different. It's blue.
So it's kind of the reverse of Gyarados. You've got like Gyarados base color is blue, but the shiny is red. So it seems like this one's kind of like, oh, we're gonna reverse that. It's gonna start off red, but anyway.
Another one, I can't think of the base form, the Grasshopper Cricket Pokemon. I love bug Pokemon. This one I was not super into, but it's probably what I think is like one of the coolest bug Pokemon of the new generation I've seen so far. It evolved into a kind of bipedal cricket grasshopper thing called Low Kicks, and it's pretty cool. Again, I'm not super into it, the way I look at like Vikavolt, and I'm just like, that is a fucking awesome Pokemon. Low Kicks is not to that degree. Low Kicks is just like, okay, it's cool, it's all right.
So, for it just popped into my head. Is there a bug fighting Pokemon?
Bug fighting Pokemon. Heracross?
Oh, for some reason I was thinking he was like Bug Steel.
No. Let's just look this up. Bug fight. Oh. Let me do bug fighting Pokemon instead of just bug fighting.
Yeah, we don't need any like some underground bug fighting rings.
Huh. Yeah, I think maybe Heracross is the only bug fighting type.
Okay. Because I was when you were just kind of describing the Pokemon, I was like, that it's a bug type, but it kind of sounds like they could have taken kind of a fighting avenue with it.
Yeah, and I take it back because it looks like also Buzzwole and Pheromosa from Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon. Those were some of the I forget what they're called. They're like space Pokemon or dimension Pokemon.
I have no idea.
Ultra Beasts.
Oh, okay. Kind of like another take on like the primal stuff that they.
Oh. And there is a new bug fighting type that I have not seen yet in the new games.
Oh. Like in Scarlet and Violet, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I have seen pictures of it. I did not know it was bug fighting, but I have not come across it yet. But yeah, so there's a trio at least. Well, I guess there's 4. There are 4 bug fighting Pokemon.
There's a quartet now.
But
I
yeah,
kind of wonder. It would be kind of an exhausting search of just digging through all the different types and all the different Pokemon, but to kind of see what combinations haven't happened yet.
Yeah. One thing I saw was really cool is with the new battle gimmick, the Terra typing, that, it basically adds another, and I've not played a ton of the game yet. Honestly, I'm like, I say that I'm like 20 hours in, I feel like I've put 20 hours
for you.
Yeah, I feel like I've put 20, well, but for a Pokemon game, usually you're beating the Elite Four around 20, 25 hours. So I've put 20 hours into this game, and I feel like I haven't done anything really. And so I also feel like I have not done a lot of research into stuff. So I'm like the Terra types. It adds another type in some cases to your Pokemon. So with like a dual type Pokemon, I don't know if it's adding a third type or if it's replacing a type, but I did see something online that with Electros, it's an electric type Pokemon and it has the ability to levitate. I forget what Terra type you add to it, but there's a specific Terra type you add to it that it then makes it the first Pokemon with like 0 weaknesses.
What?
Yeah. Because its levitate ability skirts some. I think it would skirt like ground. Since it's an electric type, it would be weak to ground ordinarily. But if it has levitate, ground type attacks can't hit it. And then I think there's one Terra type, a specific Terra type you add to it, and then it has actually like 0 weaknesses.
So are we on the verge of finding a combination as far as like defense that's better than Shuckle's ultimate?
Whoa! Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I mean, it sounds like there's a possibility here that through this Terra typing form, whatever, that we may be stumbling across a modern day, like defensive master.
Yeah, and it has been said. Spouse said it to me today that looking at Wugtrio, Wugtrio is kind of reminiscent of Shuckle, the way it looks. And that maybe that's why I am kind of partial to Wiglet Wugtrio.
I mean...
So I don't know if there's truth to that, but, people are saying.
The sources on the street are saying that there's something going on there. But, I mean, as our resident Shuckle master here... I'm sure any family resemblance you'll find out soon. So I think for the most part, outside of Star Ocean, which you said that you're very close, you're right at the final dungeon.
I could go into the final dungeon right now, but I'm going to focus on getting some side quests finished.
Is the side quest achievement, is it also 90%, or do you have to complete all side quests?
No, I think it's like complete 55 side quests. So I don't actually know what the, what percentage you'd be at that point.
Yeah, so that's kind of one of the, instead of giving a percentage, it's just like, nope, do this number.
Yeah, but looking at the achievement, I love that there are some achievements and trophies that are like that, clear this number of quests or collect this number of things, that you can then just go to the achievement or trophy and look at the percentage you are. Because looking at it, I'm 67% of the way there. So I'm 67% of the way of clearing 55 quests.
And that it's been several weeks since we threw kudos out there, but I like the fact that achievements now give you like kind of a progress report on how close you are to completing an achievement.
Yes, very handy.
Because I remember back in the day trying to figure out like with Warhawk on the PS3, trying to figure out like obviously you could just like start a timer, but like with Warhawk there was host a server online for 4 hours straight. The only
wouldn't that be pretty easy to do? Just look and say, okay, it's 9:30 right now. I will have that at so and so.
Well, yeah, like you could manually do it yourself, but it's just all of these up until, and I don't know if the Xbox One era kept track of percentages and stuff, but it's just
I think the first game that did was actually Gears of War 2. So
okay.
even back to the 360.
Of course, it wasn't really like a universal thing, I don't think.
No, I mean, I think at that point, it's all just going to be, hey, this feature is out there, you can take advantage of it or not. Another one I remember from that time is Left 4 Dead, because like the Gears of War games, it always had like Left 4 Dead had a kill an insane number of zombies achievement.
Yeah, So it is nice that just everything just it keeps track. So there's no guesswork. You're not having to be like, well, did I hit the number? Am I close to that number? Like, I mean, hell, on PlayStation, like I was like, the what is it? The Nickelodeon Smash Brothers clone. There was all sorts of things where it's like, win this many matches online, and then I had to manually keep track of all of that because it didn't do it for me. So it's nice on Xbox that it gives you that percentage, so you can just look at it and be, okay, I'm 68% of the way there to finishing this, or I'm at 99%, so I'm right there.
Yeah, like looking at the find all the bunnies achievement, I've got one more to find.
Ooh,
So I'm
it's gotta be
guessing
in
it's
that
in
dungeon.
yeah, I'm guessing it's in the final dungeon because I've been very methodical on, okay, everywhere I go, I'm hitting that scan button, I'm finding everything in these environments.
So have you been regularly turning them in, or do you just kind of get a bunch and then turn them in, or have you turned any of them in?
Yeah, I turned them in that one time whenever we went to Devotion Hill and could interact with the bunny, and I have not done it since. So I've got like
Same.
another like half dozen or so to turn in.
And
Which I'll probably do that tonight. I'm actually like in going back through all these environments and towns. I am back in Ascendros. I finished exploring that again, so I think basically next places are going to be like Vale Empire and Devotion Hill, and what is the middle town, Baldar.
Yeah. That border town that saw most of the fighting, but I think for the most part, yeah, I do need to just kind of buckle down and play more of Divine Force. I mean, this is our coverage of Star Ocean, so yeah, I need to just focus in on that game. I think part of it, like some of the stuff, is just like knowing that I need to take notes and stuff. It kind of it takes me back to the reviewing days when playing a game. It's like, oh, let me stop this and pause this so I can jot down this note, or but like I said, I am, after this most recent thing, I think with getting more into like the science fiction side of it, like going up to the Akizuki and the Aldous and all that, seeing that and kind of getting away from the fantasy necessarily. I think
There's lots of info dumps about to happen for you, and more space travel.
yes.
Just keep with it.
So that's pretty much my week ahead. Just putting more time into Star Ocean, and then hopefully with the next episode we can talk about the ending potentially. I'm not entirely sure how far away from the ending I am, but knowing that you're right there, I've got some catching up to do. But do you have anything as far as like surprises or something that might sneak in over the next week?
Well, it wouldn't be a surprise if I tell you now, would it?
Oh, well, yeah, I guess that's true. Can't.
I mean, honestly, just probably keep buckling down, keep focusing on Star Ocean. Want to get a lot of this side content done before going into the final dungeon, and then beat the game. Probably try and get as many of the relationship things as I can, relationship endings, and then I know there's a couple of post game dungeons, so probably do those, and then at that point be done with it. So
all right.
just gonna keep hammering on Star Ocean. I can see the finish line, just gotta keep the pace up.
It's right there. So with that being said, I think that's a good wrap up for this episode. Hopefully, fingers crossed, with the next one we will talk about the ending of Star Ocean: The Divine Force.
I don't think that'll happen, but we can hope.
I mean, It's possible.
I'll be the pessimist here. I don't think you'll. I don't think you will get it done.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know that I'll get it done either. Like I said, I'm focusing on so much other things sidewise. But I'll be the pessimist. I'm going to say that's not going to happen.
Well, we will see. We will find out with what episode was this? 24?
23.
23? So we'll find out next week with episode 24 of Just One More Podcast. I am Jeff from Just One More Level.
I'm John from mybrandongames.com.
See ya, everybody.
Bye-bye.